everybody. I'm Janie B, and welcome to the Janie B Perspective. It is Thursday. I have a new topic tonight, and this is the show where I discuss life, love, culture, and hot topics. Tonight's subject is toxic masculinity and what it means to be a real man. We will attempt to define masculinity, what toxic masculinity is, what it means to be a man, what it means to be a man from the Black male perspective, and what healthy masculinity actually looks like. I'm not alone. I have two gentlemen with me. That's Philosophical and Jay Echo. They are both from the DMV area. I'm going to bring them to the screen right now without further delay. Well, hello, Phyllis. How are you?
Hey, how you doing? What's going
I'm
on?
so glad to see you guys. I just want to say that your show is the Let's Rap podcast and you're on YouTube, correct?
Correct.
Yes,
Yep.
ma'am.
Okay. And so you discuss real life social issues.
Yep. As far as like decision making, awareness, and also other terms of like TV shows, movies, and just regular real discussions that a lot of men don't want to have these days.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And so let's just go ahead and get right into it. Again, thank you. I'm so glad that you're here to talk to me about this but let's start where you just started. You said topics that men do not want to talk about. What are some topics that men do not want to talk about?
I think from what I'm seeing now, there's a lot of pride and ego nowadays as far as like there's such a masculinity kind of issue going on now with pride, ego, and just masculinity. I think a lot of roles have switched to where
Right.
there are a lot of independent career women out there that, and there's nothing
Mm,
wrong with that. Career driven women that want to
mhm.
make themselves um eh, it's almost like a norm of like either you're chasing something, right? And I
Yeah.
feel like a lot
Oh,
of us men don't know how to react to that, right? It's
that's
almost like
good.
we're stuck in the 50s and 60s where it's like, a lot of men out there are like, we're supposed to be the provider. We're supposed
Mhm.
to work all the time, work in a
Right.
plant somewhere. But nowadays, all it's doing is bringing pressure on a lot of men. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's caused a lot of stress and depression, anxiety, and
Right.
and it's tough. It's tough.
I do want to say that I think that that plays right in line with what we're talking about, toxic
Hmm.
masculinity and
Hmm.
these like social norms that are set rigidly in place, and like this is what you have to do and this makes you who you are. So if
Yeah.
life evolves and the other gender changes, then you don't kind of know who you are because you haven't really set, the standard of who you are. You've gone by this checklist. So if you want to add in right there, you can either answer that question. What do you think?
So I think two things. One, pride and ego. Yes, it's a big part, but I also feel like it's a matter of purpose, so to speak.
Mhm.
Like for a
Okay.
very long time, men were taught your purpose is to provide, and
Mm,
now that women are finding their own purpose, a lot of women are finding their own purpose
yes.
outside of men.
Hmm.
Men who have not spent time doing that
Hmm.
level of introspection are having
Hmm.
to find what their new purpose is outside
Mm,
of I'm a husband, I'm a provider, I go to work and I
right.
come home and that's who I am. Now,
Right.
Yeah.
there are things we do to entertain ourselves. There are things we do you know, that we enjoy, but
Right.
how many of us actually define a purpose for ourselves outside of I do my job and then I come home.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
And what's it called? I think that's where a lot of the ego comes in because,
Mm,
before it was, well, as long as I'm doing my job and I'm putting food on the table, I'm
yeah.
doing what I'm supposed to do. Whereas
Yes.
now she can put food on the table just as well as you can. So it's like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do? I don't have like you said, a standard or a
Hmm.
barometer to measure who I'm supposed to be outside of this. And that's
Right.
where the hangups come in.
Well, but I feel like women were maybe more forced to find it because if you see yourself more as the one that's oppressed or the one that's, on the bottom, you don't have this male privilege, you're not at the top, that you're going to be forced to find that. It's almost in the sense how like Black people have had to forge their way no
Mhm.
matter what in, under oppression or, under colonization. So you're kind of forced to find this independence in who you are. And I think it's important for people to actually know women's history. And I didn't want to look up, I didn't want to tell you like the working definition of toxic masculinity. As we said, it's a set of attitudes or behaviors or stereotypical ways associated with men. And
Yeah.
what does it mean to be a real man when Black men say that? Because I hear that a lot in our community. I'm not saying I haven't
Mhm.
heard a white person, but most of my social media, is curated for Black people. What does it
I
mean when
think
a Black man says that?
I think for Black man, I think what happens is that a Black man sees, like, a lot of Black men out here see they only can get to a certain bar. They only can
Mm,
get to a certain line, right? They go
okay.
outside and they're trying to provide for their family, but I think
Hmm.
nowadays they feel like there's no way to break that ceiling, right?
Okay.
And I think a lot of times there's a war. A lot of Black men view as a war outside and potentially a war in their home, right? When you got a
Mm-hmm.
war outside to feel like you're not going to get anywhere above the where you should be going, and then you have to come home and have to sit with that in your mindset as far as like, man, this is as far as I can go. How can I provide for my family? But the
Okay.
real question is, as a Black man, as a Black man, before you, and I've been kind of harping onto this. I think as a Black man, before you even think about a relationship or even having a family, figure out how you can sustain yourself. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Figure
Yes.
out how you can take care of yourself before you even
Mm-hmm.
thinking about a relationship and having a potential family. Because what that does is not only you're already putting pressure on yourself, taking care of yourself, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
let's just keep it real. That pressure you're putting on yourself, it's on
Yes.
you. It's on you. But
Yes.
now, if you're integrating a relationship and you're bringing kids into the fold, you're now putting pressure on yourself to take care of your wife or your
Mm-hmm.
woman and then the
Mm-hmm.
kids, right?
Yes.
So that's another added barrier and element of war. You know what I mean? A battle
Mm,
that it's almost like now you have career driven women, the modern women, which I don't have a problem with. The problem
mhm,
I have is that the modern women are trying to tell men how to be masculine.
mm,
That's the issue, right? And our
mm,
Black men are running
mm,
out of time on try to stay masculine because
mm,
the pressure of outside in the world plus the pressure of being in the home
mm.
as far as a war, not providing. Providing is a position of power, right? Stability is a position of power. And when a
Okay.
man doesn't feel that power to feel like he has to provide for his household, he
Mhm.
feels inadequate, right?
Mm.
So when you feel inadequate, some men take that masculinity as a sign of weakness when they're not at a certain point. So when they're at
Okay.
that point of
Well,
yeah,
that's
when they're at
good.
that yeah, when they're at that point of weakness, it's almost like they diminish other men. They diminish other women. It becomes hateful and jealous, and it just becomes bitter. And that's where the masculinity of losing your power comes from, right? And and as a Black man, I look at like, and if I was to tell, if I was in a group of Black men right now and they're having this issue, I would tell our Black men to be like, Rome wasn't built in a day, right?
Right.
Learn how to take care of yourself before you feel like you can take care of someone else. Because if you can't take care of someone else, if you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of someone else? And that's
So
the problem. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off. So, oh, I hear some of what you're saying, like you're mentioning provision. So a lot of what you're saying, you're speaking for some Black men. When they're
Yeah.
saying a real man, it involves being able to provide for other people.
I
I,
think I
oh, go
think
ahead.
that's part of it, but I also think, well, I think that's a big part of it. Like Phil
Mm,
was saying, I think our ability to our ability to give to the people we at least
Okay.
outwardly claim to care about
Okay.
Yep.
is a
Yeah.
large part of what defines us.
Yeah.
Like
Your purpose. Yeah.
it's it goes back to purpose. If
Yeah.
you say, hey, my job is to be able to take care of you,
Mm-hmm.
anything that is perceived as a threat to our ability to take care of you becomes like antagonistic at that point, even
Mm.
if it's not actually meant to be,
Okay. What are
like,
some threats to that?
so for instance, like I'll speak to my personal experience. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was unemployed for a while.
Okay.
And so my mindset was, oh, I need
Mm.
to figure out this situation on my own.
Okay.
So the idea of, I was in a relationship at the time, but the idea of somebody else helping me find a job
Good
was
point.
ridiculous to me. It's like, nah, this is
Okay.
something I got to figure out by myself. Like, I'm a man, right? This is what I
Yeah.
got to do. Now, meanwhile, if I take a step back and I actually think about it, it's like, no, you have resources
Mm-hmm.
and people are
Mm.
willing to provide these resources to you, but because your ego is getting in the way or your
Okay.
mindset is getting in the way, you
Okay.
can't see them or you refuse to see them.
Okay.
And at that point, anybody who tries to provide you a resource is,
Mm.
for lack of a better word, an enemy.
Okay.
And so
I,
you lash out at, I mean, as men, what's our other purpose? To protect. We lash out at our enemies. That's what we do. So even if they have the best intentions,
Mm-hmm.
that perceived threat to who we are as men
Mm.
immediately results in like us lashing back, even if it's not earned or deserved or warranted.
And that threat can come from outside the home and inside the home.
It can come from anywhere. Like
Okay.
it can be as innocuous as, I mean, we're talking about masculinity. So
Yes.
let's take it from a different side.
Okay.
Um Femininity, any like there's this thing in the black community of, oh, man up, you know.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, what, last time I checked, and this is barring, gender, sexuality, all of that sort of stuff.
Yes.
Last time I checked, I was born as a man.
Mm-hmm.
This is who I am.
Right.
Somebody, the only reason somebody else has to tell me that I'm not being man enough is
Mm-hmm.
because something I have done
Mm-hmm.
clashes with their perception of who they are as a man.
Okay.
And so it's all this antagonism towards other men, other women, other people in general is because something you have done does not match up with who I define myself as a man.
Okay.
And then you get toxicity, then you get violence, then you get anger, then you get
Right.
aggression for no reason.
As a
so, oh,
woman,
go ahead.
I'm gonna let you go. I just
Oh,
want to say
no worries.
this. You speak about you two mentioned well, as a woman, we hear protection provision, protection provider, and then but there's a whole lot in between there.
There
And
is.
so now I'm a single woman. I protect myself because I have to, right? I
Mhm.
also provide for myself. So I don't see, so I can see where some of the problem comes. I don't look for a man to provide or protect for me. So if he comes into my life, of course, we're going to bring our resources together. Of course, that's a standard. Of course, you're going to do some provision. Of course, you're going to add to my protection, right? So women are asking for what more. So if you've only seen yourself as protector provider and someone says, okay, I need you to show up emotionally, and you haven't like worked on that muscle,
Nope.
then you're like, I don't know what these women are asking for now. Like, what are you talking about? And so because it's always been said, boys don't cry, men don't show emotion. We've always been told you're emotional, we're logical. when all humans have emotions, right? That emotional intelligence is a necessary tool and key to get through life. Like that's a part of why people are violent. You know, people do lose it, or relationships don't make it. So I just want to add in there that so with this real men thing, some women see real men as also someone that can able to be able to sit with me or able to sit in his emotions as well and not just show up with his money, with his pocketbook, you know, or with his wallet rather, and his gun. Or
So let me add to that. I really want to add to that because you bring up a good point, right?
yeah.
It is a fact that men are conditioned to provide
Mm-hmm.
and protect, right? And
Yes.
I'm just speaking from a married man, right?
Okay.
And I'll speak from in your case because I was in that place where at the time I know what I wanted from my woman, now my wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
let me give you the secret, right?
Mm-hmm.
All a man wants, right? Let's think hypothetically, right? You've got your own place, right? You're
Yes.
providing your own stability, right?
Yes.
And if you, I'm pretty sure you have, and we've spoken about this before, you have certain conditions that if I'm going to allow a man to come into my life, there got to
Mm-hmm.
be certain conditions that he has to uphold, right? And I've
Yes.
said this on our podcast and on our Freedom Fridays, right?
Mm-hmm.
A grown man, and I'm not even putting, color behind it, right? And this is just
Mm-hmm.
simple facts: apartment, home, car, career,
Yes.
right? Those are assets of protection and provisioning, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing a man wants a woman to bring to the table is process. So when you say that, yeah, I'm providing for myself, I got my own place, I got my own car, I got my own career. A lot of let me tell you the difference because and I'm only speaking from what I'm seeing or since we're talking about the social
Sure.
media aspect of it, right? I'm
Yeah.
speaking from the let's look at it right now, right? When a man has his own place, his own car, his own career,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes the light bulb goes off to say, you know what? And this was me at one point to say,
Mm-hmm.
man, I've got all this and I'm
Mm-hmm.
sitting in this nice house all by
Mm-hmm.
myself.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some aspects to where women may react in a certain way. I've accomplished all this. What do I need a man for? When
Mm-hmm.
really a woman should really look at the conditions that they are looking for in a man to say, this man has the same things I have. But
Right.
a woman's job is to process certain things better. It's just a mindset the woman can process things better than a man can, right? So for example, right? If like I'll even say for this podcast, and Jay can kind of attest to that. You really think that, you know what I mean? We have a team on this podcast, but do you really
Mm-hmm.
think me and Jay as men, as like surface level and the way we view things as a man, you really think we couldn't do this without some type of woman opinion on it? No. You know what I mean? It's just men come up with the ideas. Women know how to process those ideas and take them. The right women know how to take it to the next level. So when you say, I'm providing for myself, I have my own place, I have my own car, I'm career driven, there are certain conditions a man has to uphold to have those same things. But at the same time, you're
Mm-hmm.
experiencing having those things, you're bringing process to those same things you can add to his career, to his
Mm-hmm.
stability, and you build together. And that's the problem today.
Well,
Nobody want. Go ahead.
that's true. But me saying that doesn't mean I don't plan to build. It doesn't mean I don't want a man. It doesn't mean I don't desire a relationship. It just means that my needs aren't just bubbled down to these two, bullet points. Like, you know what I'm
Correct.
saying?
Correct.
I'm saying
And
Correct.
because as adults, most of us have a job, a career, and all that. I don't go around,
Correct.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
taught to be a leader, and boys are just
Yeah.
told you're a leader.
mhm.
So it's like you just showing up because you're a man and you have those things. And I'm not knocking those things. I'm not saying men are useless. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there's other things, like you said, provision and protection come in other ways and not just monetary or me being able to physically protect you, from another man
Not
or
not
for.
Yeah.
just yeah, but not just monetary or physical, but I think a lot of it is misunderstood as far as men react to different situations and emotions differently. That doesn't mean
Absolutely.
that doesn't but I think that's such a misunderstanding.
I think it's how we're socialized. I think
Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead,
I
go ahead, Joe.
think what's it called? I think you guys are both talking about the same thing. It's just you're approaching it from different angles, and that's sort of
mhm,
the the rub of the entire conversation, right? It's
right.
like you're not saying you guys don't provide anything or you don't bring anything to the table. It's that there's a fundamental misunderstanding of what people actually need, right? What people
Mhm,
are looking for in a relationship. Like
right.
we as men, like Phil, you said, we want process. We want
Yeah.
somebody to help make our lives easier. That's
I,
usually
That's
what
what the
I'm really,
process means.
yeah, but I'm really, what I'm really
Okay.
saying is that I think a man's emotions toward a woman are misunderstood in how it's articulated versus a man talking
how
to another man's to about his emotions. And
that's
I think,
because no, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
finish.
And I
Okay.
think, that's the issue. Like you're saying, you don't want protection and
I didn't say I don't
provision.
want
I
protection. I
yeah,
No,
said
no,
thank
no.
that's
you.
just not what I'm like at the top of my list that I'm looking for. I know that it's going to come with the man, is what I'm
Hmm.
saying, but I'm absolutely capable of protecting myself at this moment. There are
And
people
I
in
Okay.
relationships who don't have male protection. So
Oh, I
that's
agree.
not,
I
I've
agree.
been
and I
there.
think
Okay.
that's and I think that's where that's the point I was trying to touch on. It's like we we assume, and I've done this too, so I'm not
Mhm.
taking myself out of the
Yeah, me
equation.
too. Me too.
We assume that when you say, "Hey, I don't need a man," I mean, of course, we can have conversations about the language being used and all that. That's fine,
Yeah,
but that's besides the point, so to speak.
right.
The main point is like, hey, that's not the function I want you to fulfill for me right now.
Mm,
It's
Mm-hmm.
I want support. I want all these other things because the career, I already got that. The
Yeah.
house, I already
okay.
have that on my own. The protection, I can buy a pistol or whatever you define as protection for you, or
Yes.
stability, or whatever
Mhm.
that looks like. And for a lot of us, again, speaking to myself, we have not had to contend with that because, like you said, we have not had to build that emotional intelligence. When
Right.
we are young, like you
Mhm.
said, we are told you're going to grow up, you're going to have a wife, and you're going to take care of her. It's like,
Yes.
okay,
Correct.
cool.
Correct.
What
Yeah.
does that mean?
Right.
Nobody
What does
like
that mean?
and most of us, it's for most of us, it's learn by watching. Nobody actually sits you down and teaches you like, hey,
Mhm.
this is how you have a conversation with your wife. This is how you
Yes.
have a difficult conversation with your wife. This is
Yes.
how this is how this is how you fight kindly. This is how
Yes.
nobody teaches us that.
But
Was
isn't
Like
your
that
model
seen?
healthy? Did you have a
But
healthy
isn't
model?
but isn't that seen from the way you were kind of brought up though? Based off of it, if your mother and father are, I mean, no relationship is perfect, but if they're constantly getting along, the father is speaking on terms of like a good communication with their mother and stuff like that. Don't you kind of adapt to that and kind of,
but that's literally a case by case basis. I
It
mean, and
that's
I
is.
true
know
too.
that's
Yeah,
for
that's true too.
everybody. That's for everybody.
Mhm.
We all pick our own models. So, well, we
Mhm.
don't pick our models, but at a certain age, we get to a point where it's like, all right, that's what I'm going to emulate.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
once we
Okay.
decide that, we try and model ourselves. Most of the time, it's our parents or the most visible relationship to us when we were younger, right?
We
And we
we
start
definitely
and
gravitate to what's familiar. We do.
exactly.
Correct.
And
Correct.
that
Correct.
So
that could be
Correct.
unhealthy, but it could be very comfortable.
yeah, it's comfortable. That's the
Yeah.
It's
that's the other
comfortable.
piece of it. So
Right.
we're all so used to, especially like me, I will do what is comfortable.
Yes.